Hello, back to the West Coast Connection. I am Terrence Holton. Little bit of a late episode. I'll be honest about that. I had some stuff going on, had to get take care of that, a lot of schoolwork. But in today's episode, we're going to be breaking down my bracketology from earlier this week. Just a few kind of highlights I have about this team. So this might only be like a 20-minute episode. We'll see. Talk a little about Alabama Auburn tomorrow because that's a huge game. Talk about some other things happening across college basketball. Maybe hit some women's college basketball. You never know. Um, but yeah, we're gonna jump right into my bracketology predictions. I posted them earlier this week. I'll put them on the screen so that you guys can see them when I'm talking about them. It's not just me talking randomly to myself, which is mostly what these are. But let's just jump right in. And we start in the South region. And with the South region, this is the number one overall region, I believe. Maybe it's the East, which is the number one region, but they seed them all out. So these are my top seeds of each it's my top seeds of each seed, if that makes sense. The best of each seed, basically, and who I think they'll be playing. So let's start off with the number one overall seed, and that would be the Auburn Tigers taking on American, the first and 16 seed. Auburn is the best team in the country, and I think I'm gonna get into this later in the episode, but they are the best team in the country. I think that they've really just proven that they can beat any team. Obviously, they lost last week to who am I blanking on? Florida. Still a great team. That's why they didn't move after being number one. Um, this Auburn team's great. This SEC, they're rolling through a phenomenal SEC, the best the SEC has been in years, quite frankly. Obviously Johnny Broome came back since I last talked about them, I think, and he's been dominant. I think he's probably my national player of the year right now. Cooper Flag is up there for sure. But right now, it's definitely Johnny Broome. I mean, when you're the by far the best player on the best team in the country, my opinion, that gets you National Player of the Year. Just think it should. Believe he plays power forward as well. So also the Karl Malone Award. He should sweep the award season, in my opinion, as of right now, unless Cooper Flag starts going even crazier. He had a really bad game in their loss against Clemson. But other than that, they've been fine. American, I don't really have, I'm not going to say much about like the 15, 16 seeds. I mean, it's just obviously I want to say it's the past 5 years, a 15 seed has upset a two seed. We'll see about that. I mean, I'll probably get a little more into that once we get closer to March Madness. But for now, I don't really have much like, there's no, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's only happened twice in history. Obviously, recent years for the 16 seeds, but it doesn't happen a lot. All right, right now my eight seed is Oregon. Since I made this bracketology, Oregon has lost yet again. Wow, this is a confusing team. Started off the year red hot. They beat Alabama. They looked phenomenal. Nate Biddle, Jermaine Couisnard. They just look phenomenal. Since then, they have dropped off a cliff once we've gotten to Big Ten play. I want to say they have lost like 4 or 5, something like that. I don't have their record pulled up. They have, woo, yikes. That's really all I got to say about Oregon right now. And it's weird about them because usually Dana Altman teams start to trend upwards once we get closer to March. Usually they start peaking around now and can make runs in the conference tournaments. It is complete opposite with this team. It's really quite strange, especially for a coach of his caliber, to see his team just completely go off the rails like this. Right now, though, I have them as an eight seed. I think I'd probably move them down to a 9 or 10 for being perfectly honest. They've just stunk recently. They've stunk. Then my nine seed Clemson. I think Clemson definitely has a chance to rise higher up. The ACC's not that great this year, but they are playing phenomenal. Obviously, just knocked off Duke last week in Dickie V's return to the broadcast booth, of course. But this team is good. What did I say? 11-2 in conference play, 23-5 overall last I checked. They're a good team. They're rolling through conference play. I could see moving them, maybe do a six seed. It's got a little high, but I could see them moving that high up, especially like I said, with how weak the ACC is. I think they're going to keep winning, to be perfectly honest. Now you're going to have to play Duke again, regardless. But you never know. I don't think they'll win in Cameron, but neutral site, ACC tournament, you never know. So yeah, I think Clemson's a good team. Moving on, next, Arizona. Ooh, another interesting team. Another team who kind of opposite of Oregon, started off really poorly. Since then has been cooking with gas, to be perfectly honest, in the Big 12, in a good Big 12 conference. Um, I mean, yeah, they're a good team. Caleb Love in his 20th year of college basketball. Just jokes. But obviously knocked off Texas Tech last Saturday. Great win for them, a late night winner. But they've been rolling. They've really been cooking. I mean, you just look at these string of wins. They obviously lost in Lubbock at Texas Tech. Since then, however, wins against Iowa State, Texas Tech, and beat ASU in the rivalry game. And then, they lost to Kansas. I forgot to mention they lost to Kansas State last Tuesday. Kansas State, though, weirdly enough, might be the hottest team in college basketball. They looked so poor to start the year. And since then, they spent all that money in the offseason. They looked so poor to start the season. They've been cooking. They're like, I want to say they're 11-11, or 14-11, excuse me. They're really trending in the right direction towards a good bubble team, a really dangerous bubble team. I mean, these last string of games, we're just going to read these off, beat their rival Kansas in Manhattan, I believe. Yeah, it was at Kansas State. Went to Arizona. No, didn't also go to Arizona, but they beat Arizona in Manhattan as well. Beat ASU and beat Iowa State. Beat the brakes off of Iowa State, I should say. So they're peaking at the right time. I got a little off topic from Arizona, but Arizona's a good team. I could see them. I think five might be their cap. They have problems, and I think because Caleb Love, the cycle of Caleb Love is funny. The cycle of Caleb Love is, oh my God, this is the greatest basketball player of all time. Why isn't he shooting more? Why won't he stop shooting? And this guy stinks. And this guy's the greatest basketball player of all time. You see that? It's a circle. It happens every single year. This year is absolutely no different. Still a decent team. George Mason, another good 12 seed. I love these 12-5 matchups. I love a good George Mason team. Yeah, it was George Mason who made that Final Four run all those years ago, not George Washington. Um, yeah, you never know though with these 12 seed. I like this isn't my favorite. I'll get into my favorite lower seeded team in a bit. They're actually in this bracket, so I'll get to them. But moving on, Ole Miss, another SEC team that has just been playing phenomenal. Obviously, the SEC is best in college and best conference in college football basketball. Damn, I can't speak. But but Ole Miss is no different. They have been playing really well. They played well out of conference. However, if they were to play right now, I have them against 13 seeded Arkansas. Arkansas. I can't speak today. Against Akron. Another hottest team in college basketball. They have the longest win streak in college basketball. They've kind of drastically changed. I was watching a video about this. They've drastically changed their play style. They're one of the most fast-paced teams in the country. They're not obviously beating the best, but they're undefeated in MAC play right now. Team's cooking with gas. That's all I'll say about the Zips. Yeah, no, they play it with a lot of pace. I believe it is Akron, if I'm not mistaken. No, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm forgetting my statistics, so I'm not gonna speak on which team this is. But one of these teams I'm gonna speak about is like one of the shortest teams in college basketball, and they're scoring at a ridiculous rate for who's really getting the ball. But Akron, it's a good team. Damn good team, really. So, yeah, moving on now. Taking a look at UConn. Wow, how the mighty have fallen. Can't get a sense on this UConn team. They're really different without Liam McNeely, which is strange. No, it's not strange. It makes a lot of sense. The guy's going to go in the lottery. Um, but they are a strange team. I am beginning to dislike Dan Hurley more and more as I go. He obviously whines a lot. That's kind of his thing. But then he just talks a lot of trash afterward when he's done whining, and that kind of pisses me off. I'm gonna be honest. Um, Regardless, UConn's hitting their stride at the right time. Obviously lost to St. John's earlier last week, I should say. It was a week ago today. But still, it's a good team. Now, let's get to my favorite team of the lower seeds. Let's get to my favorite mid-major team, the UCSD Tritons. Now, whew, you want to talk about hot teams? My goodness, is this team hot? 21-4 on the season, recently knocked off UC Irvine, the other team competing for the Big West right now. And oh my goodness, they're a fun team. They run and gun up and down. They got two guys averaging over 16. Anawian, oh boy, I'm gonna botch this. I'm so sorry. Anawania on I'm gonna get through this. Anawaniwa Tight Jones averaging 20 points. Obviously, he's the ball handler on that team. Not ball handler. but he's one of their premier players. Then you got Tyler McGahee, got that name right, averaging 16 and a half. This team is good. They're beating the living breaks off of their Mountain West opponents. I mean, earlier in the year, their only losses are to UC Irvine, who a team they beat earlier last week, less than a week ago, I should say, 85-67. They lost them earlier in the year, and they lost to UC Riverside. But then outside of that, their only losses are to a close one to San Diego State, who's a decent team who I think is on the bubble right now, and Seattle University, which is a weird one, I won't lie, because that's only a decent team. Now they haven't played the hardest schedule, but they are not by a long shot. They actually haven't played a single Power Five opponent. But I don't know. I like this team. I like this team a lot. They had a similar year last year, didn't make the NCAA tournament. It's only their I want to say it's only their second year having a Division One team. If you literally Google them, they don't have their logo on Google, which is crazy. The Tritons. Get on that, Google. But moving on, this is going to take forever. I'm worried. So, moving on to the three seed, I have Michigan State. Another team that I think could fall down. This team was broken by the city of Los Angeles. Obviously, it came out west here to, I turned the wrong way, here to USC, lost that one as the number 17, turn around, lose at Pauley Pavilion to UCLA. Then they lose it. No, they didn't lose to Oregon. They came, nice little deficit that came back from down 14 at halftime, gave up 50 points to the Ducks, came back and won it. But anyways, still a decent team. But they've been falling. You know, they started off undefeated in Big Ten play, hadn't lost since November. I want to say they've lost three or four. So I could see them slipping. Maybe I'd reseed them at five right now, maybe four or five seed. Still a good team. They're still really deep team. So I don't know what to think. I have them playing Northern Colorado right now. Another team out of the Big Sky. Woof. And that's not another team. Team out of the Big Sky. Their best player transferred last year, St. Thomas, came to USC actually, and they haven't really skipped a beat. They're still a heavy tournament contender, and they're fun to watch. That's all I really have to say about them. Moving on to the 7-10. I love me some 7-10 matchups. But Mississippi State and Utah State, not a ton to say about them, but another team that's decent in the NCAA, in the SEC compared to a pretty good Mountain West team that's battling with New Mexico for the Mountain West. Um, so yeah, I feel decent about those. And then finally, let's talk about Florida in the South region. I think Florida right now is predicted a one seed by most major media outlets. I think they'll be a two, just because I think they're going to lose some games upcoming in the SEC. I mean, they're really good, don't get me wrong. But their starting center, Micah I'm really bad with names today. Michael Handlogen. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna call him Micah. Micah. 7-1 center coming back first time this year. So that's big for one of the best rebounding teams in the country, really. So they have a really high ceiling right now. You never know with them. And I have them taking on Bryant, another team that's, I'm not going to say it's a throwaway, but I'm not going to talk about much of the 15, 16 seeds. Moving on to the West region. Let's talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. Recently this is another team that maybe Florida takes their one spot. Tennessee moves down to two. Lost at Rupp Arena to the Kentucky Wildcats. Another funny team that I'll talk about later. I still think this is one of the better teams in the country. They play really good defense. Although I think it's possible Tennessee could fall out early just with the style of play they really focus on. I think it's very possible that the Volunteers fall out early. I mean, I'm not going to say, I don't think it would be any of these teams like St. Mary's, Nebraska, who I have projected to be in that region. But I think a Maryland, a Marquette could. I mean, just because of their pace of play, they're a great defensive team, but they struggle to shoot the ball sometimes. And if team can get hot, if some of these better like fast-paced teams can get hot, you never know. So I think it's very possible Tennessee bows out early. Then I just mentioned them, St. Mary's and Nebraska. I have nothing positive to say about the WCC teams this year. St. Mary's whooped USC earlier this year, beat them by 36, 35. Brr, held USC to 36. That's why I was thinking that. But they don't really have any other great wins other than that. And you're not going to get any in a WCC where Gonzaga's bad. They're just not good this year. Um, So I think they'll stay around that 7 to 10 range personally, unless they start losing, which it's possible because the WCC's not that good. Nebraska recently lost this week. I believe it was to Wisconsin. Let me fact check that. But another decent tournament team, the only Power Five. Oh, no, wait, they beat Oregon. What am I talking about? That's the team Oregon lost to. Thank you. Um, Another Power Five team who has not won a single March Madness game. Not another, but they are one. They are the only Power Five college basketball team to have never won an NCAA tournament. Don't know if this will be the year. Maybe against St. Mary's, not against any other Power Five opponent, really. I'm going to be honest. It's just a curse. Got to live with it. But let's talk about a Big Ten riser, Maryland. Whoa. Maryland has come out of nowhere. I mean, let's just talk about them for a little bit. They are a funny team. Not really a funny team. They're a good team, but this team was kind of dead in the water the last couple of years. Now you bring in a 5-star freshman, Derek Queen. He's been playing phenomenal. And he's averaging 16 and 8 to be exact. I know I'm reading the stats just straight off it. Calm down. But they're a great rebounding team. They've got two guys averaging over 8.5 rebounds a game. That's going to win you games, just straight up. It's going to win you games. So they're a great just rebounding team. They're great on the block. They can score inside. Yale would be a funny matchup for them. Now, no, they didn't match with Yale. I'm thinking back to the 2019 March Madness when Yale nearly beat LSU, and then LSU and Maryland played. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, tangent. Um, but I think Maryland, it's a team that could make some waves. I don't know. You never really know. Um, Yale, I don't know. The Yale right now is a 12 seed. I have them. They're the first best team in the Ivy, in my opinion. I mean, it's tough because the Ivy, it's not good. It's not good. It never is. But Xavier, what's his name from? Oh my goodness, how am I forgetting his name? Xavier, blah 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 blah. Blah. I apologize. But Princeton's not bad. Princeton can score a lot of points. Princeton obviously beat Arizona, was it last year? Yeah, no, 2 years ago, Princeton beat Arizona in the first round um as the Ivy League champion. Yale, though, undefeated in conference play. It could happen for Princeton. They're 16 and 7, Yale 15 and 6. But I don't really see it happen. Xavier Lee, that's his name. Possible NBA guy out of the Ivy. So I would look for his name in a couple years. Probably this year. He'll go to the draft this year. Who knows if he'll play? Never know. But got Yale at the 12 seed. Still a decent team. I got to do this quicker, else I'm going to be here forever. Marquette, team kind of falling out of the Big East right now. Yeah, I think obviously I have them as a higher seed than UConn right now, but I think UConn and St. John's are really starting to pull away from them. Even Creighton, honestly, are starting to pull away from them as the really true contenders in the Big East. And Marquette's kind of slowly fading into that. No longer got some of those key guys. And I don't trust Shaka Smart in March. That guy just straight up doesn't win games he's supposed to. Like I don't know what to say other than that. And I think if I have them currently matched up against McNeese State, Will Wade's teams likes to run and gun. They like to shoot threes. If Marquette gets down, it could be really hard for them to get back into a game. And I don't trust Shaka Smart to really coach them back into the game. So that's a possible upset I have. I mean, McNeese, they pooped the bed last year, but I like them. I don't know. I like Will Wade as a coach, even though he was investigated by the FBI for all those recruiting violations. Moving on, the six-seeded UCLA. Unfortunately, Bruins have been getting hot at the right time. They obviously knocked off Michigan State not that long ago, beat USC in the crosstown showdown back when I had Julian on. They're playing well. They're a good team. I mean, they're playing right now as I record this, actually. Up 10 on the Indiana Hoosiers, one of the biggest disappointments in college basketball. Boy, did they have to fire Mike Woodson. They obviously lost their last game at Illinois, but before then had won 8 in a row. Or 6 in a row, excuse me. But they're cooking. They're getting going at the right time. That's all I'm saying. They destroyed Oregon and then beat the brakes off of Penn State and edged out a close one versus Michigan State. So, UCLA, not bad team, but 11 seed Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's funny. This is a team where now they have been warned because they keep court storming they keep getting warned by their athletic department about the fines they're getting because I think the fines are up to $500,000 now, which is kind of crazy. But they keep court storming. Fun team to watch. And I might just pick them just for the hell of it against like a team like UCLA, just because this is kind of the year of Vanderbilt, if you really think about it. I mean, go back all the way to Alabama football. They oh what Vanderbilt won 7 games this year, but they upset Alabama, and now they've had some upsets. They beat Kentucky in Nashville earlier this year. This is the year of the Commodore. That's all I'm saying. Moving on, Purdue Boilermakers obviously lose Zach Edey. Have not skipped much of a beat, to be perfectly honest. They are still a good team. Um, when you lose a guy who's averaging 24 and 14 and like I don't know that big ass tall man he was. Um, but overall this team's good. Just destroyed my Trojans not that long ago. Taking on Wisconsin tomorrow at 10 a.m. That'll be a great game. Um, I have them as 3 seed right now. I think they'll win the Big Ten by the looks of it right now. They lost their last game to Michigan. Yeah, no, I don't got much else to say about them. Good team. And then I'm skipping towns and I'm just saying New Mexico. I'm gonna talk about New Mexico. If we're talking on the podcast, if we're talking about New Mexico, I'm gonna talk about New Mexico. I love New Mexico. Early listeners know this. I love Donovan Dent, who Bleacher Report Hoops stole my story on him. You didn't hear it from me. Um, Best player in the country, most underrated player in the country, should win the Bob Cousy Award. Don't think he will, but he should over the guys like Mark Sears playing against a scrappy Wake Forest team that is really trying to claw their way into the tournament in a pretty crappy ACC. Hunter Salas really trying to carry that team. I watched a funny clip of a guy, I forget who it was, but Wake Forest was down, and this guy lobs up with like 10 seconds. They're down like two, like down with like 10 seconds left. He lobs like a deep contested three, and it just hits nothing but backboard. And then it was against FSU, and then they just imploded. Um, but I think New Mexico, I'm gonna make the mistake of picking New Mexico to go super far again, like I did last year, and it's gonna burn me. I just love watching them play basketball, and it's gonna burn me. But I'm so gonna do it. I'm so gonna take New Mexico to like the Sweet 16 or like the Elite Eight. Just watch me. 2 seed Texas A&M. I think they'll fall. Another team I think could fall because of the SEC, but they play great basketball. Number 7 team in the country right now. I don't have much else to say. All right, halfway done. Oh, my voice is getting tired. East. The number 1 seed is Alabama. The Crimson Tide will have the chance to be the number 1 team in the country tomorrow, taking on the Auburn Tigers in Tuscaloosa. Will be an awesome game. Should be super fun. Led by Mark Sears, obviously, who hasn't had the best of years with when it comes to shooting. But Alabama, when I say teams like to run the ball, they do it the most. They have the most possessions per game of any team in the country, back-to-back years. And statistics of recent have showed the teams who have the fastest pace of play, who have the most possessions, make it far. So I'm going to pick Alabama to make it far, probably Elite Eight minimum, just based off statistics alone. So yeah, just want to shout out for all my statistics nerds. Then Baylor and Ohio State. Boy, Baylor's dropped off a cliff. I think they would beat this Ohio State team. Ohio State be perfectly honest, I'm not a big fan of them. Maybe it's just because early in the year they got the shit kicked out of them by Auburn on their home court, and that's just left a sour taste in my mouth. But I'm just not a fan, like really whatsoever. I don't know what to say other than that. Then the 5 seed, Wisconsin, kind of already mentioned them, but playing Purdue tomorrow, they will have a chance to move up my rankings. The 12 seed, Drake. Talked about Talked about Alabama plays fast. Drake plays slow. They're one of the slowest teams in college basketball, meaning they like to hold on to the ball, get a good shot. They do not want to run up and down the court. They do not want to shoot out. And that can burn you or that can really help you. If you can slow a team down to your pace, then you can likely win those tough games. Don't know if they can do that against some of these teams. We'll see. Right now, I have Kansas and Samford. This wouldn't actually be a matchup because they did it last year, and I got screwed because I picked Samford and they lost on a BS foul call. But that's neither here nor there. Kansas, another funny team. Hunter Dickinson, another guy in his 20th year of college basketball, coming back. And I think he'll have a good. I don't know. This is a Kansas team that should be the deepest team in the country, has one of the best teams, coaches in the country. and they're still just a fine team. They're a good team, not a great team. They should be a great team. That's all I have to say about them. Moving on, Missouri Tigers. I have them against BYU. BYU is one of my bubble teams right now. Um, and I kind of like the Cougars in this matchup. I kind of like them on the bubble here against the Tigers. I like picking against the general consensus number one conference because maybe that conference just beat themselves up. We'll see about that. We saw it a few years ago with the Big Ten. They had like 11 teams in, and like three of them made it past the second round or something crazy like that. You never know with that though. Iowa State. I called Iowa State one of the best teams in the country. They're definitely not. It's all right though. Good team though. Good team. It's a team that this is another team I'll be tricked into taking them to the Elite Eight. I love their defense. I love teams who play defensive basketball. It's a lot more. I trust it a lot more than like hot offenses because if a good defense will always play good defense. A hot offense, when they play a good defense, is not always a hot offense. That's just straight up how I feel about this. So I trust a team like Iowa State in March. That's all I really have to say about that. I know I talked about the pace of play and all that, blah, 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 but I trust the defensive team. That's all I have to say. Oh my, I have Ohio State on here twice in the same bracket. Huh, interesting. Okay, I'll fix that later. Do a later bracketology on that. Oh well, my fault, everyone. I'm just gonna move past that. West Virginia, weird team, should be better in my opinion. Same with their football team from last year. Whatever though. Houston, another defensive basketball team. I trust defensive teams. What can I say? I trust this. I trust Kelvin Sampson's teams to at least make the Elite Eight this year. The way I think it'll fall, they'll have a pretty good shot at it. They don't score the ball that much, but they play defense. They play together. I don't have much to say about defensive teams other than I love defense. That's really all it is. I love defense. Love defense. Love it. Yeah, Houston, great coach team, great team overall. Could make an Elite Eight Final Four run. And our final bracket, I'm going to break down because my voice is getting tired. I don't think I'm going to do a preview of the Iron Bowl. Big one, biggest, dare I say, biggest Iron Bowl in either football or basketball in 5 years. Maybe six. Hands up. Midwest. Let's talk about the Duke Blue Devils. Duke obviously lost their first game in ACC play to the Clemson Tigers the other week. Cooper Flag slipping for the second time this year with the game on the line, costing the Blue Devils the game. I really don't have a worry about this team. It's crazy. I mean, it's what Duke basketball is. Is there a bunch of freshmen who are just uber talented and they have a good coach? Obviously, Tyrese Proctor is kind of the leader on that team, third year guy, even though he's only like my age. He's only like 20, but he's been playing there for like 3 years. Leader on the team. But Cooper Flag is second best player in college basketball. And in my opinion, I think I heard Paul Pierce say this once. When you have the best player on your side in the series, you always have a shot. And obviously, that's a lot to say about Duke because they probably have three lottery picks on their team. But I do think Duke is still one of the best teams in the country. Creighton and Georgia. Just mentioned Creighton a little bit. Still think they're one of the best teams in the Big East. Could win the Big East. Definitely have a chance to move up this thing. I don't know if anyone is on Creighton Twitter or is on Big East Twitter, but there's a weird strain of tweets where Creighton fans were Russia for a second. I don't know how to explain it, but they were Russian. And every tweet I saw was in Russian from Creighton. So I don't know. That was a little weird. It was kind of funny, but that was weird. Against Georgia. Georgia kind of dropped off once they got to SEC play, unsurprisingly. Still a pretty decent team. I think they could beat Creighton. One of the better, I think they'll have a lottery pick in Asa Newell. I want him to play for the Portland Trailblazers. Can't see my flag, but I have a Portland Trailblazers flag. Big fan of them. I would like him to come play for the Blazers, like them to draft him. Good team, though. Memphis. Memphis is rolling through the AAC as they should. It is what they should be doing. It is what Penny Hardaway should have been doing his entire career with them. And this is one of the best Memphis teams I have seen in quite some time, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, no, they're good. I think that they smack around a team like Utah Valley, to be perfectly honest. No disrespect to Utah Valley, of course. Um, then moving on. I have Arkansas State on here twice. Do I? No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. I'm tripping. Sorry. This was hard to make. I don't know how bracketologists keep track of all the teams. I don't. Kentucky, team that could move up. Like I mentioned, they beat Tennessee earlier this week. Great team. Mark Pope is a great coach. I was super skeptical of that hire when that originally happened. It's worked out great. He's really connected with the team, the fans. He brought over a lot of guys. Obviously, he still brought in a ton of talent for Kentucky, as they should. Kentucky, I saw something about this on, I think it was Twitter. It is Kentucky. I can't tell when making my bracket, are they a Final Four bound team or a first round exit? There is literally zero in between. And I'm trying to figure that out right now. I'm definitely leaning first round exit because I mentioned I like defense. They play no defense. There is non-existent defense on the Wildcats, so I don't know if I can trust them, to be perfectly honest. It's why they've lost in the past few years. And Michigan versus Texas. Michigan, another team that's rolling, just beat Purdue obviously earlier this week. Yeah, another good team. Dusty May has taken over, really reshaped that program after Juwan Howard um, was really kind of a blunder towards the end there. Ooh, like that word blunder, blunder. Why am I saying it like that? Blunder. Um, yeah, no, good team. Texas, kind of a one-trick pony. Texas they're a good team. I do feel like they should be better, to be perfectly honest. They got a shot against Kentucky tomorrow to really prove that because they need some of these wins. They're 15 and 10 right now. Trey Johnson, they got a freshman who's leading the scorers right now, and then Arthur Kaluma, decent guy. Where did he transfer from? Hold on a second. I know this name. Where did this guy transfer from? I think Creighton. He was at Creighton in Kansas State. That's right. I know him. I wish he never left Creighton. But Trey Johnson, another guy that's going to be a lottery pick, averaging 19 as a freshman. It's hard to rely on freshmen when you go into tough games, to be perfectly honest, in my opinion. It just is. It's not. It's hard to trust them. I could say the same about Flag, but I think he's generational. Um, it's hard to trust them because you need experience going into the NCAA tournament. You just do, and they don't really have that. Um, the three seed, one of my favorite teams in the country over the past few weeks, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Woo! This team's been cooking. Obviously, they lost last week to Arizona, but this is a good team. Shoot the ball incredibly well. I talked about them as one of my favorite teams in the country. The other one is getting up now. They are incredibly good. They're fun to watch. It's awesome. It's great. It's great to see them succeeding. I like basketball when Texas Tech is good. It's fun. Maybe I'm biased. I went to a Final Four, watched Texas Tech play back in 2019. Jarrett Culver. Well, that's gonna be a pull in a couple of years. He was first round, first top five pick, maybe not. But they're a good team. Shoot the ball really well. Obviously, that can get you in trouble, but they're really good. Louisville, decent team, decent team. Obviously, they've been in the gutter the last 2 years. Come back, decent year in the ACC. Probably could be doing better with teams like North Carolina, Virginia in pretty bad states. But yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say about them, especially in the first year head coach. I'm blanking on his name. First year head coach, though, they're doing well. And then Gonzaga. Did I have Illinois in here? I think I'm forgetting Illinois. Maybe that's the team I accidentally. Did I put Illinois in here? I think I forgot Illinois. Okay, you know what? I'll be better next time, guys. My fault. My fault. Hand up. It's on me. Um, I have them against Gonzaga. Gonzaga is a bubble team for me right now. They have not really showed that they can beat any good teams at all. They have some really quality losses. If this was the SEC in college football, then we'd make them the two seed because they have a bunch of quality losses. But they don't have any good wins. That's the problem with them. They don't have any good wins, and they're not going to prove that in West Coast Conference play. I said that about St. Mary's. They're just not going to prove that. So you never really know, to be perfectly honest. I don't trust them really one bit. I'm a big Gonzaga hate watcher. And I think this will be the first year where I can successfully hate watch them in the first round, which is awesome. It's great. Yeah, they're not a good team. They haven't beaten anyone this year. They've just lost to good teams. That's all I have to say about them. And as a hate watcher, it's really quite nice to see. And then last team I'm going to talk about the St. John's Red Storm, the Johnnies. I talked about them last week. Then they pull off a big win against UConn. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. I have them as a two seed. I think they're being disrespected in a lot of bracketologies who have them at like a six seed, a five seed. No, this team is really good. Rick Pitino's a great coach, and I think that they're going to go far in the NCAA tournament. I would put them in the Elite Eight right now if the NCAA tournament were to start tomorrow. So that's just how I do it. But that's gonna be my bracketology for the day. I'm not gonna do the whole Iron Bowl. I don't want to talk anymore. That was a lot of talking for me today. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a good one. I'll break down other things next week. We'll see. I kind of play a lot of this by ear, as you can probably tell. So everybody have a good one. Thanks for tuning in.